All right, make sure that you watch the first video on irregular verbs because you're going to need one of the irregular verbs here to understand complementary infinitives. All right, so you already know that the second principal part of the verb is called the infinitive. And the infinitive starts with to, so we've got, it always translates as to verb. We use them very frequently in English. They're also called the infinitive in English, starts with the word to. Now, possum, do you remember we talked about that verb? Posse, possui, right? A form of possum, which means to be able to or can, is often paired with an infinitive. And it will come, the infinitive comes before the verb. Let's take a look at how that works. And it's called complementary because you need it to understand the rest of the sentence. So if I said ambulare possum, this is right, this is our regular verb. This right here is in our infinitive. And the reason it's complementary is because possum means I am able. Well, I'm able to what? We need this infinitive in order for it to make sense. And so ambulare possum means I am able to walk or I can walk. So again, optat here, pugnare optat, is in our infinitive. We can say she chooses for optat. Well, she chooses what? And the complementary infinitive helps us to understand what? She chooses to fight. And again, remember you have this to walk. That's the infinitive part. It gets just translated as the second principal part. Now you've been using infinitives for a while, but now's the first time you're going to use them with another verb, and you're going to see it and see how it sits before the verb. Okay. All right. Let's take a look at a couple more of these. Ad prolium revertere debeo. So here we have our verb. I ought to what? Here's our infinitive. I ought to return to battle. All right, potestis ne, there's our, it makes it a question. Accipiere captivos in castro are verbs at the beginning because this is the question. And here's our verb. Are you able? Are you able to what? There's our infinitive. Are you able to accept the captives into the camp? Look at the next one. In Africa, manere non desidererit. So where is our verb? At the very end where it should be. He, and the non desidererit, he was not, or he did not desire to what? Here's our infinitive. So it gets translated right after the verb even though it comes before. He did not desire to remain in Africa. All right, next one. Poterant, all the way here at the very end. Here's our, that's interesting. Here's our infinitive here. It's not right next to, but it doesn't have to be. Here's our verb. So the strong men, what were they were able to what? To carry. The strong men were able to carry water to the ship. All right, last one. Again, we have our infinitive here. So although it's most of the time in front of the verb, well, it's still in front of the verb. It's not necessarily right next to. Here's our verb. We ought. Well, we ought to what? That's the natural question. We ought to go across, ire, transflumen, across the river. So just be looking for those. When you see an infinitive, very frequently it's complementary, which means it complements the other verb that's conjugated already in the sentence, and they kind of pair together. They're complementary.